Hey everyone, it's Sevy. Childe, Genshin's Mr. Worldwide, has his second rerun banner finally confirmed, probably to the dismay of many longtime players. However, for those who have lost their 50/50s or missed his banners, now's a good time to ask yourself if it's still worth pulling him considering all the released and rumored future characters floating around. In this video, I'm going to go over what I think are the reasons to want to pull for Childe and the reasons why not. One of the most prominent comments I see about Childe lately is that he is outdated or doesn't fit in the current meta, so I want to offer my insights on how true that comment is and show some appreciation for this beautiful lover of the Snezhnayan Queen. If you're all for the Ginger husbando and want him on your account no matter what, then congrats! No need to pull your hair out for incoming dilemmas. However, if you're still on the fence about it, then hopefully this will help you decide. Now let's start with the reasons why Childe is a worthwhile summon. Number 1, he's currently the only dedicated Hydro main DPS. We only have a measly 5 Hydro characters right now counting Childe. The other 4 are mainly healers, sub-DPS, support roles, and Childe is the only dedicated main DPS, which in itself speaks to a lack of Hydro unit diversity. Where are our Hydros, mihoyo? Hydro is also mainly seen as an enabler or support element right now. Even the Hydro resonance isn't appealing and one that you'd almost always want to avoid as it doesn't add much for your team. This is a shame since Vape's damage can rival that of Melt if we have enough units and comps to play around with. Childe is unique in that currently there is no Hydro character that can match him as a Hydro main DPS. If you already have good Pyro DPSs, then supplying yourself with a Hydro DPS can be a good future-proof decision. The only rumors we've had about a new Hydro DPS in the future is Kamisato Ayato, but even that sounds like it'll be a while. So really, Childe is the only one fulfilling that role right now in our Hydro roster. Number 2, Childe is still a solid DPS. While the DPS characters following Childe have power crept their predecessors by quite a margin, I still think Childe is a DPS that holds up in today's meta. Furthermore, he is very strong in certain situations. While his normal attacks don't do much damage in themselves compared to other DPSs, Childe's true DPS strength primarily lies in his AoE damage potential via the Riptide mechanic. It's what he applies to enemies that, when triggered, explodes to deal AoE Hydro damage to, which makes him deadly if you manage to crowd control enemies and trigger multiple stacks of Riptide. His elemental burst comes in 2 forms that also scale quite well, especially his melee burst form. His range applies Riptide, while his melee makes all opponents affected with Riptide explode with more AoE Hydro damage. The more enemies you bunch up together, the better. The right team comps also make the difference, and Childe has the classic international and fireworks team comps. If you include Childe with units like Fischl or Beidou for electro charge, then that's even more damage over time. If you pair him with a Xiangling, you can proc constant vapes and reverse vapes. Freeze comps are also a good choice with Ganyu or Kea. With Anemo supports, you can shred Hydro resistance while grouping enemies together to Riptide. Sucrose's EM sharing is especially useful here since Childe enables lots of elemental reactions. Most of his best teams include 4-star units will most likely have, so he has very accessible comps to maximize his damage potential and team synergy. Childe is a bit slower with single target opponents, but he's still no slouch. I'm sure you've also seen Childe's flexes of his burst doing upward of 1 million damage on the Pyro Regisvine, though that's more for looks than practicality. Regardless, with the right team comps, I can still clear single bosses like Magu Kenki or the Mechanical Array on Spiral Abyss, so you can expect him to still keep up in the current meta. Number 3, Thoma and Childe will have awesome synergy. With Thoma being added to the roster of 4 stars, there's another fresh reason to use Childe. To make use of vape reactions, he is often paired with Xiangling for off-field pyro application and reactions, and it's one of his most popular team pairings. But very soon, we'll have a likely next best alternative with Thoma and Childe. I can already foresee that if you're a Thoma wanter, Childe will be an awesome combo with him. Thoma can provide support via shielding and constant pyro application, protecting Childe while enabling vape and reverse vape reactions. Besides, they both exude the same energy, so the 2 husbandos energy vibing together is just icing on the cake. Number 4, Childe is easy to build. As of 2.1, Childe has all the best artifacts available to build him depending on how you plan to use him. When he first released, he didn't have an artifact set that tailored to his strengths. It took one update later to add the Heart of Depth set, and thanks to that set, you have a full set that perfectly synergizes with him. Thanks to the Inazuma update, we have one additional but unconventional option for him, which is the Shimenawa set. As for his weapons, he has so many great options for all spending brackets. The rest remains to be a superb option even at R1, and the Blackcliff Warbow is a top option for free-to-plays. BP spenders can use the Viridescent Hunt on him, and if you manage to pull a Skyward or Amos in the standard banner, those would also be superb. Now we have two more additions for his bows, the Thundering Pulse and the upcoming Polar Star. Suffice to say, there's an accessible weapon for every Childe haver out there. Number 5. Childe is free to play and low spender friendly and feels complete even at C0. Overall, I think Childe doesn't feel like he's lacking anything essential at C0, which makes him feel like a complete unit. While I've only ever tried a C0 Childe, I don't feel like he's lackluster even after the OP characters released after. My biggest complaint would probably be that his cooldown can be too slow if you use him too long, but I'd accept that as part and parcel of his entire kit and not really a fluke. His constellations have nice quality of life improvements, and his C6 just gets rid of the need to micromanage him, but you really don't need them to carry you through using him. Not counting C6, they don't really gate anything that will make him feel broken. And like in my previous point, his weapon choices are very flexible for different spending players. Basically, you won't have to feel like you're shortchanged with a C0 Childe. So those are my recommendations why you should pull for Childe, but what about reasons why you probably shouldn't? 1. Hu Tao and future new and rerun characters. It's revealed that right after Childe will be Hu Tao. That's going to be Hu Tao's first rerun, while this is already Childe's second. So if you've been saving for Hu Tao or even any other character that might release in the future, then Childe will have to be a pass for you. Hu Tao may just be the best Pyro DPS in the game right now, and Thoma is looking to be a new valuable support. Those two characters in one banner is a very tempting proposition, and it's no surprise that Childe will be an easy skip for most of us. 2. You don't like his playstyle. Childe's playstyle demands a bit of micromanagement since on C0, his DPS capabilities demand downtime, and the longer you extend his DPS window, the longer his downtime will be. This can lead to some frustrating moments where you can't activate his skill because of the painfully long cooldown. So making the most of Childe as a DPS requires you to think about how long he's on the field, how long his downtime can synchronize with his teammates' rotations, and how you can make the most of his DPS window given his supports. 3. You're pulling for C1. This is more for those who have less primo gems but really love Childe. If you already have a Childe and are tempted to get C1, I would say that it's better to just save your pity for another unit. C1 is a nice quality of life upgrade and allows you to squeeze in a bit more DPS time, but in my opinion, it's really not that game-changing versus getting a new character, unless you really love your Childe. 4. You don't need another DPS. Childe doesn't have much support capabilities apart from being an excellent Hydro enabler. If you're already very satisfied with your DPSs and are far from having a decent build on them, maybe you're better off focusing on building them first. Alternatively, if you're having some trouble with Spiral Abyss even if you already have good DPS units, maybe you should focus on your supports instead of getting another DPS. 5. You're sick of seeing him on a banner. It's his second rerun, enough said. So those are my reasons why you should pull or skip Childe, but really, these are only recommendations and personal opinions, so it's up to you if you're going to throw some primo gems on his banner or skip him entirely. I think a good amount of the player base was really looking forward to another long-awaited characters rerun like Xiao or Ganyu. If you're also really on the fence, then try waiting if miHoYo will preview the 2.3 characters before pulling for Childe. For more recent players who missed or weren't able to get him on his prior rerun, pulling Childe isn't a bad idea. If he really appeals to you, I say go for it. You'll still be getting a strong DPS unit with a unique skill set. But what about you? Do you think Childe is still worth pulling? Are you aiming to finally be a Childe haver, or are you skipping him for better prospects ahead? Let me know in the comments below. So that's all for this video, everyone. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, consider subscribing to my channel, and look ahead to more content for Genshin Impact 2.3, and I will see you soon. Take care!